Holy City Center Radio. It is episode 71, and I am your host, Christian Sanger. Today is January 13th, 2023. How are you all doing? Well, I hope. Good. That's what I like to hear. Awesome show for you. I can't mess around. I already started to, but we need to just get into it because why? Well, we have our stories as normal, and there's some good ones, but also we have a guest today. We have an interview, our first one of the new year, and it's a fun one. Today's guest is Chef Brandon Buck. He is the executive chef of Crush Yard, a pickleball club and restaurant that is coming soon to Mount Pleasant. Pickleball mania, as I've mentioned before, has taken over Charleston. It's spreading throughout the country, and a lot of people have been curious about this upcoming business. What exactly is it going to be like? What is pickleball? Some people don't even know that. So I will let you know in advance. If you don't know what pickleball is, we don't really get into the sport itself, so you're going to have to still try to figure that out on your own. It was more about, obviously, he's the chef, so it's about the building in general, what they're going to have over east of the Cooper, and, the food menu, things like that. But it does sound like a fun place. Even if you don't know what pickleball is, don't care, and don't want to play, this still may be a fun venue for you to go to. If, again, don't have to play pickleball, which is a sport. You don't have to do that. You can just enjoy food and hang out with friends. They're going to have beer and cocktails. They're going to have coffee because they're going to be open in the morning. All sorts of stuff you're going to learn in this interview. So be sure to stay tuned for that. It's a good one. But before that, let's get into the latest news. The chair of the South Carolina Democratic Party has requested an investigation into the certification of the brand new South Carolina Superintendent of Education, Ellen Weaver. Trav Robertson, who is the chair of the Democratic Party here in the Palmetto State, sent letters to both the U.S. Attorney General Merrick Garland and South Carolina Attorney General Alan Wilson, asking him to look into the circumstances surrounding Ellen Weaver's master's degree that she got from Bob Jones University. For those who don't remember, South Carolina has a state law that says their superintendent of education has to have a master's degree. When the candidates from each party were chosen, one was Lisa Ellis on the Democratic side. The other was Ellen Weaver, who was on the Republican side. Weaver came from a conservative think tank, didn't really have any kind of education background, definitely has not been a teacher. And so there's already some questions about that. But then it turns out, after she won her party's nomination, she does not have the master's degree that's required. So people started wondering what is going to happen if she wins this election and doesn't have the degree that's required by law. Well, she tried to nip that in the bud by saying she's going to have her degree by the time election day rolls around. People were very interested when they heard that because not only like, oh, okay, I guess apparently, you knew you didn't have a master's, but, just dove in anyway. But all right, if you have it by election day, that probably will clear it. But we found out that when she made that promise, she also mentioned when she started her master's degree, and in the end, it was only going to take her about 8 months to get that degree. So a lot of people who have got their own masters or had looked into it or know anything about it were a little confused by that. How is she running a campaign, still doing her job with the conservative think tank, family obligations, real life, just regular life stuff, but also getting a master's degree in 8 months' time? Needless to say, there were some questions then, and the questions remained. And so that's what this is all about. In those letters, Robertson, said that the South Carolina Republican Party, Bob Jones University, Ellen Weaver herself, and the Southern Association of Colleges and Schools Commission on Colleges all conspired to commit fraud and circumvent state law. So that is what his assertion is. We will see, how this plays out if either the state or U.S. attorneys general. I've been wanting to use that, the attorneys general. That's a side note. That's a weird English thing that I've always enjoyed. That it's not attorney generals, attorneys general. And I first time using it, and I stumbled over it at a course. But in any event, more importantly than that, is we really don't know what's going to happen here. And even if it is investigated, and then even if that investigation shows that something untoward happened with this degree, something a little shady, what is that? Does it mean anything? so far proponents, or excuse me, opponents of the Democratic Party in this measure have said things like no one really cares about the master's degree anyway. It's a dumb law. Who cares? But it is a law nonetheless. Even if you don't care about it, just like any other law, it still is a law. And for a country that is supposedly about law and order and rules and all that good stuff, and no one's above the law. This is a classic example of when we should look into something, in my opinion. Now, of course, I'm biased, and I didn't think, regardless of her degree, Weaver was an appropriate person for this job and is unqualified to do it. I saw her, as others did, as just a political operative that was coming in and kind of riding that wave of bogus fear about LGBTQ issues dominating schools and grooming children, and the hysteria over kids having to wear masks during a global pandemic. And critical race theory is teaching people that white people are bad and all this other nonsense. She was kind of riding that wave, and that's why she got elected. It had nothing to do with her qualifications, which is why you've heard some people say they don't care if her degree was shady. They don't even care if she has a degree, is because they care more about those, social arguments that we've seen, going on in the world. Uh, so we'll see what happens, and if it even does go forward with any sort of investigation, if anything will be done about it, I'll certainly keep you posted. All right, let's get away from politics for at least a little bit here. Something a lot of folks have been waiting for. I mentioned at the top of the podcast our interview today, and people are very excited about Crush Yard coming here and seeing what this pickleball, experience is going to be. When you incorporate a restaurant and bar with it. Another business involving a popular sport has also caught the attention of Charlestonians for the last almost 2 years now, I think, since they made the announcement. But Topgolf, which is wildly popular in other places, and a lot of people here were excited to hear it was coming to the area. Well, yes, that is finally announced that Topgolf is opening that North Charleston location on January 20th. So for all of you who have been waiting and waiting and waiting for a date, there it is. It'll open soon. It's located at what is going to be called 5,000 Topgolf Way. Obviously, that's going to be a new street that wasn't around previously. So no surprise if you don't know where that is. But that venue will be located near the Charleston Area Convention Center and the Tanger Outlets over by International Boulevard. So that's the area where you can find Topgolf starting on the 20th. This is actually their third venue in South Carolina. They have one in Greenville and Myrtle Beach as well. So what exactly is Topgolf for those who don't know? It's going to be kind of similar in a way, in some ways, to Crush Yard, where you can get food and you can get beer, and you also have the opportunity to play a sport. And a lot of people, like I said, are very excited about this. It seems to be a very popular experience in other places. There's going to be 72 climate-controlled hitting bays that will span 2 levels. Players can, take aim at on-field targets. They can play games involving those targets where they rack up points. There's other games that you can choose to play. They have some other branded games, like there's an Angry Birds course, I guess, that is going to be incorporated. So it updates. You can have different, you can go to this venue and try something different pretty frequently. So you don't always have to be doing basically like just a driving range or, what have you. There also is a 9-hole mini golf course, full service restaurant that will include top shelf drinks. They're also planning on having music. They have private event rooms and planning on some other programming year round, most of which, if not all, will be family friendly. They also are planning on employing 300 people when they are 100% up and running with their full staff. If you're interested in joining, you can go to Topgolf's career website to apply. But yes, January 20th is the day. If you want more information, go to topgolf.com, learn a little bit more about what they do and what you can expect here when they open. As you are listening to this on Friday, January 13th, at least you better be. Why are you waiting to listen to this podcast? It comes out 3 times a week. You need to stay up to date. But if you are listening to this on Friday, it is already day 2 of Charleston Restaurant Week, which kicked off on Thursday, January 12th. It will run through Sunday, January 22nd. So yes, you astute listeners, that is actually a few days over a week. It's not a true week. They've expanded. It's essentially 11 days of being able to go to Charleston area restaurants and try out different dishes. For those who don't know about Charleston Restaurant Week, basically I mean, really, just about every restaurant in town, it certainly seems. But in actuality, it's over 50 restaurants from across the region. They sign on for the event, and then they offer, like, two courses for X amount of dollars, three courses for this amount of dollars. And it's supposed to be, in most cases, a good deal where if you were normally going to buy three courses, this is cheaper than it would have been. However, we've seen in the past, I think, I can't remember if it was the Charleston City paper or the Post and Courier one year did a story, and they found out some of those deals are actually, you're paying more than you would have on a normal occasion. So yeah, you might want to look into whatever deals you're interested in. But it's a good opportunity for in other circumstances. Some restaurants you're getting dishes cheaper than you would normally. It also allows you to order multiple courses when you might not normally, so you can try out some things that you wouldn't have been able to if you came to the restaurant on any other day. So it certainly can be beneficial, depending on what restaurant you go to and what dishes you're getting. But you can find out more information at restaurantweeksouthcarolina.com. That's because it is running concurrently with the entire state. So there's other restaurants that'll also be participating throughout the area. Next up, we go back into politics just momentarily. Representative Nancy Mace, who recently started her second term in Congress, filed her first bill of the new Congress, which is the 118th, if you were wondering. And what important piece of legislation did Representative Mace present as her first bill of the new year, new Congress? Something great, I'm sure, something she's been waiting and waiting for, something that's certainly going to help the Charleston area and is going to be of the utmost importance, right? Well, let's take a look and see what she did here. Okay, so after the recent Southwest and FAA flight cancellations, technology failures, that whole debacle, which I'm sure you're all aware of, the Southwest one you certainly are. It spanned multiple days over Christmas. The FAA one happened this week. You may not be as familiar with, but flights were grounded one morning this week for a little while as the FAA had some problems with their technology. Not as big of a deal over multiple days, but certainly an issue. So that happened, and her bill is related to that. So, okay, again, this might actually be something good and worthwhile because that is a big issue. So let's see what Representative Mace is going to do to help combat those problems. She filed a bill called the Commercial Cabins for Cabinet Members. All right, weird name, but let's see what the bill is actually. So the bill would require that the U.S. Secretary of Transportation, Pete Buttigieg, he can only fly commercial. And the FAA reauthorization is once the FAA reauthorization is completed, he can go back to flying private if he wants to. Yeah, that's what Representative Mace decided to do with her first bill of the new year. And to help combat the Southwest and FAA issues, she's going to want to pass a bill into law saying that Pete Buttigieg, the Secretary of Transportation, has to fly only commercial. Okay. What is this? Are you kidding me? What performative bullshit is this? There's an actual issue we had. The airplane issues. Very real, very frustrating. Lots of questions that should be asked about what exactly occurred in both of these circumstances. Especially with Southwest over that multiple days and canceling flights, and did they do something illegal? Did they do something wrong? There are lots of questions. Could something like this happen again? Is there ways we can prevent these things from happening because it disrupts people's travel, whether it's for business or pleasure? It can ruin a lot of things, and we're deciding that this is the bill we're going to file. Okay, if you want to learn more about Representative Nancy Mace's bill, you can go look it up. But that's the gist of it. That's what we're doing so far. Enough of that. More food news. If you like Martin's Barbecue, you're probably going to like this new restaurant that is opening in West Ashley. It is called Hugh-Babies. That's HUGH-Babies. Barbecue and Burger Shop. It will be opening today in West Ashley over at 1028 St. Andrews Boulevard. This is the same folks, like I mentioned, that own Martin's Barbecue on James Island. It's run by pitmaster and restaurateur Pat Martin. And he said that he originally created this business in Nashville as a tribute to the small town eateries he frequented in his childhood. So it'll be interesting to see what the decor is, what these places look like. And as I mentioned, it started in Nashville and it's expanded all the way here to Charleston, just like Martin's Barbecue did. So I would imagine it's probably going to be pretty tasty and pretty fun to go to, but we shall see. So nearly everything at the restaurant is reportedly made from scratch, cooked to order, and like I mentioned before, the menu is kind of aiming towards Martin's past, his mid-South roots. So you can expect things that you might have seen at little shops like that in the past. Burgers. There'll be some Memphis-style barbecue, hot dogs, fries, and hand-spun milkshakes. So sounds like it could be a pretty fun spot. I'm excited to check it out, and I'm definitely going to try to as soon as I can. You can learn more at Hugh-Babies.com. Just like Topgolf, they are also hiring, so you can go to the careers tab on their website if you're looking for work. Hugh-Babies starting today, Friday, will be open every day from 11 a.m. to 9 p.m. for dine-in. They also have drive-through, take-home, and delivery options available. And finally, some fun news to end on before the interview. The good folks over at the Recovery Room in downtown Charleston, the quintessential dive bar here in town, well, they've done it again. For the 9th year in a row, they are the #1 seller of Pabst Blue Ribbon cans in the world. That's right. There is no place on this planet that sells more PBR cans than the little old Recovery Room in Charleston, South Carolina. So congratulations to them for once again taking home that honor. 9 years in a row, top seller of PBR in the world. Congratulations to all those folks. And I guess congratulations in order to all the customers who helped them reach that goal for the 9th straight year. All right, enough of me joking around, being mad about politicians and all that stuff. I know we like news, but we gotta move forward. No more news. We're done. We gotta get to this interview. I know you all love the chats I have with folks around town, and I think you're gonna enjoy this one. Chef Brandon Buck of Crush Yard, that pickleball club and restaurant I've mentioned multiple times that is coming to Mount Pleasant. He even gives us an idea of when you can expect it to open. I know a lot of people are interested in that, but I think even more important than that, a lot of people, myself included, were like, wait, all right, what's going to be on this menu? So it's like a pickleball club, so people can go there and play pickleball, of course. That's a given. I get that. I can see that. But you're going to have like a full service restaurant. What is that going to be like? Okay, and they're going to have a bar that, serves alcohol, obviously everything from beer to cocktails. Okay, all right, that how are we going to factor all this in? I started thinking of like a bowling alley, like, oh, you play a sport and there's food and drinks. Well, sure, in some ways it's similar to that, but it's much, much more. You're not going to be getting bowling alley food, your typical, neighborhood bowling alley. That is, not a place like the alley that has amazing food and is a bowling alley. But it's, this is going to be more similar to that. Elevated food, craft beer, local beer, not just whatever light beer, of the week that people throughout the country are interested in. This has a chance, from the sound of it, to be a legit restaurant that you go to just to eat at. It's not like a sideshow to pickleball. It sounds like this could be a place where you honestly could go for either and be happy with your decision. It's not like oh, well, we really want to play pickleball. I'm sure they've got food. It's fine, whatever. Or, oh, yeah, well, we really went because the restaurant's good, but they've got like this fun game thing you can do, but whatever. It really sounds like it's going to be the best of both worlds. So, obviously, I haven't been there yet. This is speculation, but I think you're going to come away from this interview thinking a lot of the same because the food sounds good. Uh, the atmosphere sounds like it's going to be really interesting. And it was a lot of fun to learn about, how Chef came up with ideas for a menu for this kind of unique concept, as well as what he and everybody else involved in the project is envisioning. So really cool, as I've mentioned several times. So I'll stop talking now and let's get into the interview right now. And joining me now is Chef Brandon Buck with Crush Yard, a new pickleball club and restaurant that is coming to Mount Pleasant very, very soon. People are very excited about it, and I'm excited to have Chef Buck here to kind of give us some background on the property and what people can expect when they show up there at that new spot in Mount Pleasant. Chef, thank you so much for joining me today.
Yeah, it's great to be here. Thank you for having me.
Of course. So before we get into Crush Yard and all things about the business itself, if you could just let my listeners know a little bit about yourself, your background, what brought you to Charleston. I think you're a South Carolina native, but just a little bit about who you are.
So way back, basically, I grew up on a 98-acre farm outside of Columbia, South Carolina. So it was mostly cattle and produce in the form of peaches, actually. So that fits with South Carolina. A lot of people don't know that, but we do produce a lot. And I got into food and beverage when I was 15. My first job was actually working for 7 Irish Brothers in Columbia at a brewery. So that was my first experience. And I kind of fell in love with it because when I was younger, the thing that kind of made me gravitate towards food was the Great Chef series on PBS. And it's funny because I used to watch it all the time. And it just kind of drew me in, and so it was cool that we had that, on PBS back then. And later on, I ended up working for one of the chefs that I watched on that series, which was super cool.
Oh, nice.
So around the age of 19, I made the decision to come down here because I wanted to get into upscale cooking. I had a couple of restaurants with a little bit of management already under my belt in Columbia, and I loved Charleston when I visited. And I kind of fell in love with it back then. That was, 99 that I actually made the move. I came down here, and the original intention was to attend Johnson Wales, but I ended up having an interview with Donald Bergman, the founding chef of Magnolia, Cypress, and Blossom, for Cypress when it was a new project, like they were still building it out. And so, I'm in the mindset was in the mindset that I could learn as much as I could on the job, starting from the bottom and working my way up. So I ended up getting the job at Cypress, spent 6 years with HMGI, that company, loved it. Spent a lot of time on my days off, either going into work just to learn certain aspects of different parts of the kitchen that I wasn't necessarily doing all the time, and also reading a lot, quite a bit. So, other chefs wanted to see what was going on in the scene. I mean, that's when French Laundry Cookbook came out, and, you had all kinds of chefs like Tom Colicchio and everybody else. Mm-hmm. So putting out great things and, really coming into their own. So and after Cypress, I ended up moving on to Middleton Place. I was the executive chef there for the better part of 10 years. There was a little section in there where I left, and I actually gave up my title for a little bit and decided to take a job at Cacique on Kiowa. The reason I did that was because Tom Colicchio was the consulting chef for Voices at Cacique, and I wanted to work under Colicchio. So did that for 3 years, then was asked to return to Middleton. So kind of been a little bit of everything everywhere, but in the past few years, I opened Trads with the Newton family and their executive chef, Drew Hedlund. Then I moved on to Blossom as the executive chef. COVID kind of hit us really hard there, like it did a lot of places, and with Blossom being such a mainstay downtown on East Bay, when East Bay was bumping, it was hard to see that one go. And so now I'm over on this side. So I'm in Mount Pleasant and moving into Crush Yard, which is super exciting. It's totally different from upscale, but I'm still going to be doing scratch food, which is really different for a corporate setting. So,
Nice. Yeah, very cool. Yeah, that's a great overview of your background. You've been working for over 20 years in some capacity in this field. And I was going to ask you about that, switching from, fine dining and things to all of a sudden being involved with this brand new project, that has the sports element to it and probably has like a sports bar vibe to people who are just hearing about it. And obviously no one's been there yet, so we don't know for sure, what the vibe will be.
yeah, yeah.
But I'm sure you could speak to it. How did you get involved with a project going from, like a fine dining to something almost completely different?
So actually, the CEO randomly reached out to me and knew who I was. We ended up having a meeting, and we just met for coffee. And after hearing his vision and where they wanted to go with it, and who was involved, I fell in love with the idea. And so by the end of that day, I accepted the job that he offered. And so it was exciting to me because they didn't want, basically you look at a lot of corporate places, and not to throw shade on any of them, but, it's a lot of that food comes in bags, right? So,
Right.
They're getting, you talk about major chains, preseason fajita steaks and things like that. And that's not what they're looking for here. So that kind of kept, me grounded as a chef, because I'm still going to be able to prepare food the proper way in my mind,
Right,
So,
right.
we're going to be executing, recipes, and we're going to be actually creating the food. I mean, down to, and I know no one's really seen the menu yet, but we'll have fun things on the menu, for kids and everybody too. But we'll be doing fresh churros in house and things like that for a dessert option. And,
Nice.
it's not going to be, coming out of a bag or a box. So,
Oh.
that kind of, made me feel really good about it.
Oh, it's great to hear. Cause sometimes you see sports bar or something involving sports or, whatever it may be, you start to think like, oh yeah, the food will probably be okay, but maybe not fresh. So that's exciting to hear that in addition to, being able to play pickleball or whatever folks are wanting to do, they're also going to be getting, some good, food, like you said, not coming out of bags. That'll be good. I think a lot of people would be happy to hear that. So, when you were approached and you decided to take the job, how did you decide, what sort of options that you were going to have on the menu? Like, how closely were you thinking about the type of clientele coming in and how that would relate? How did you come up with, and I know, like you said, maybe the menu's not done yet, but the general idea of, what you were going to offer?
So, this involving pickleball, obviously, that being the main focus here, we wanted to have things that, it's like upscale pub fare is basically what I approached this with, because we want to cater to people who, we're going to be really heavy on the appetizer side. So, share plates and things like that. So when people are in there as groups, I mean, if you come in alone, it's fine. It's not a problem. There's plenty for you to do. But if you're coming in, you're playing pickleball or something like that, we want to have options for those people. Or if you're just coming for the restaurant, that's another focus too. Yeah, it's amazing. It's a pickleball place. It's going to have, climate control courts, which is awesome down here in the South. We know that because of how hot it gets and the humidity. So that's amazing in and of itself. But the thing is too, is that, if you want to come in for lunch or dinner, you don't necessarily have to play pickleball, right? So
Right.
we want that draw. So that's kind of how I shape the menu, because it's like you were saying. I mean, most of the time when you think of places like that, the food's the afterthought of the project, right? So it's just like, bar food that, not a lot of thought maybe goes into, or it's just, easy to execute. And so, where we're kind of different on that is that, we're offering healthy options. We're going to have things for people who like to eat healthy, and people, and other chefs, I know how it is, you get gluten-free or vegetarian or whatever, but we have to embrace those things at this time. It's time to, provide those items in a different way that's better, because
Absolutely.
it's here to stay, and that's how people choose to eat. And we want to attract those people. So we want to, we want to be available for everyone. No one should feel like, they're not welcome there is basically what I'm getting at. There's something for everyone on the menu.
Nice. Yeah, it's good to hear again. Like, you think of other places where sports may be involved, and like you said, food may be an afterthought. And so anybody who's not participating in the sport probably is like, oh, I don't really want to go and be there. But this sounds like you can have a completely separate experience. You can hang out, eat food, have some drinks, and have nothing to do with pickleball if you don't want to. And you're going to get some good food by the sounds of it.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the kitchen's state of the art. It'll be one of the most technologically advanced kitchens in the city. I did that on purpose through design. It's very efficient. It's all monitored. It can all be monitored anywhere from a smartphone or a tablet. So, I mean, it's pretty amazing. So, there'll be strict controls on how the food goes out. So our consistency and quality of product is where it needs to be.
And you mentioned one menu item that sounded like was for sure going to be there, which is churros in-house. Is there anything else that you're pretty sure, and I know anything can change between now and opening, but anything you're pretty sure might be on the menu that people can look forward to?
Yeah, we'll be doing some rustic toast, some grilled toast with some different toppings, kind of our take on flatbread or a pizza. So we'll be doing some of those things with, I have to lend into one of my hobbies, which is being a certified mushroom forager. So we'll have a mushroom toast on the menu with goat cheese, South Carolina source goat cheese. And then, so we'll have that. We'll have other healthy options. We're doing lettuce wraps, basically with tuna poke, things like that. And then we'll have things for people who want something a little heartier. So I'll do things like, wings are bar food, but we're going to do smoked dry rub wings there with gorgonzola blue cheese dressing for somebody who really loves wings. I'm a wing guy, so, I like that. And then, we're kind of all over the gambit. But the other thing is, too, is you get it in sandwiches, and we'll have a really, really awesome burger. And it's actually one that I used and sourced when we were at Trads, which was Pat LaFreda out of New Jersey, the generational butchers. I mean, that family has produced amazing quality product for years. So our burger will be sourced from Pat LaFreda, and it's an amazing burger. It's a chuck and short rib blend. So, we'll have things like that. But also, on that note, back to healthy and other options, you can get that burger set the way I have it on the menu, or you can have it with, you can have an Impossible burger, so vegetarian there. You can have turkey, so you'll have those options.
Nice. And
so there'll be other things like that. So, wherever there's a protein, for the most part, on the main courses, if I have fried chicken sandwich, for example, you can have a grilled chicken sandwich. You can have something else. Like, we want to make sure that those options are there.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, like you said, it does sound like there's a little something for everybody, regardless of what your dietary restrictions or preferences may be. So that's going to be really fun. And it sounds like there's also going to be desserts, as you mentioned, churros. There's going to be beer. It looks like there's going to be a lot of beer on tap, if I'm not mistaken. Correct?
Yes. I think we're at 32 craft beers is what we're going to have.
Wow.
So, and the amazing thing about that too, I could kind of go down a rabbit hole for a second.
Yeah, sure.
Chris Brown from Holy City is a friend, and I've worked back and forth with him when we were at Middleton Place. We used to do the Brazen Brew out there every year for fall time, right? Mm-hmm. So we do anywhere from 7 to 10 courses. So, but I actually reached out to Chris, and he and his partners have created a beer just for Crush Yard. So we'll have a fermented citrus wheat beer on tap that is Crush Yard branded, and that'll be called Dinker's Delight. So dinking is, I found out, is a Crush Yard or pickleball term. So, but it's cool. The can's going to look really awesome, and the graphics for the self pour is going to look really amazing. It's awesome. We're really excited about that.
Very cool. And, we'll be talking about the food, of course. You're the executive chef there and the beers and all that. What else can you tell folks about, the property in general? I know there's going to be, I think it was 8 pickleball courts. So it'll be like an outdoor area. What else can people expect when they go there?
So when they come in, the first thing they're going to see is basically like a welcome area. Okay, so there'll be a desk there, and then we'll have our Crush Yard branded items. One other thing that I can kind of go to that we're really excited to be doing is we'll be selling coffee. So we partnered with One Nation Coffee in Somerville, One Nation Roasters. John Richards and his partners are all combat vets and first responders. So they they do a great job with coffee roasting. It's really, their coffee's awesome. So we're going to have that bean to cup on our machines in the restaurant. So you'll be able to pick what blend you want. And then we'll have our own blend through them as well, our Crush Yard blend. And the thing is that kind of on that side note, when people are looking, you can get your Crush Yard coffee that you have in the morning when you come in, because with certain membership levels, which I know we'll probably get to, they'll have access to the coffee and the drinks and things like that when they come in the door at 5 a.m. So before the restaurant even opens, the members will be able to access those things. So we'll have nitro coffee and things like that, and it's all going to be coming from One Nation. And it supports a really good cause, because they also have a foundation, One Nation Foundation, that gives back to families of injured and fallen vets and first responders. So pretty amazing, actually. But so you come in, you see that. What you'll have to the left and right are 4 courts on either side. The image, you can see some of the graphics, the renderings online at crushyard.com. But basically, it's going to have almost like a upscale lounge look to it. Not pretentious, but
right.
It's very clean and nice, and it looks great. Like, our designer's done an amazing job. He comes from the yacht designing world, so it's beautiful. So we'll have the dining area it'll be central behind where you walk in past the greeting center. It's seat yourself. So basically, this restaurant runs without actual servers. We'll have front of the house managers. We'll have people removing things from the tables, like server assistants.
Okay.
We'll have basically a manager set to be the drink ambassador, the alcohol ambassador for the beverages. So everything will be on tap and will be automated, everything. So from the coffee machines to the beer to the mixed drinks to the wine, everything will be linked to the customer via a wristband or some other token, to where you can go up and it's connected to your account and you can pour. So we'll have that when you walk in past the dining room. Along the back, there'll be an L. That's where the soft drinks and coffee and all that good stuff will be. And then we'll have the mixed drinks and wine as part of that L. And then to the right of that, in an island, that's where all the craft beer will be. And then when you look over to the far right, that's where the kitchen will be. So that's that area. And then above the main dining room, we'll have a mezzanine. So people can also book private groups here. So, depending on what kind of event you want to have, we'll be able to host it. And then out in front of the building, we're upgrading the area of that part of the building for outdoor seating. So they'll be able to sit out front. And then also we're going to have a huge deck on the back, which is beautiful. And people can sit out there as well. So a lot of seating options, we're talking probably 500 seats.
So I think I read it was like a 40,000 square foot space. So it's not a tiny spot.
It's massive, man. It's so massive. It's crazy when you see it, the building gutted out during construction, especially. I've never been involved in something that is this large of a space. And it's like Oh my God. I didn't realize there was so much inside this building, like space wise. It's crazy.
And you've mentioned a couple times like memberships. Obviously, as we've said, people can come in just as normal, whether they want to play or eat food. But you do offer memberships. What sort of benefits do those provide for people?
Right now, we have the special pre-grand opening price of $95 a month. They're charged monthly. They don't have to put up. It's not like a gym membership where they have to pay 2 years at a time. If any of us have been through that and not been completely good about going to the gym all the time, you know how that goes.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, we've all been there, I think. So we have the Crush membership, which right now is $95 a month. That's our grand opening price. That will rise after we hit our limit on that. And then we have a Yard membership, which is $745 a month. So I'll tell you what we have right here. So if you get the big membership, which is currently $95, you get unlimited open play between 5 and 11 a.m. every day of the week. You can buy up to 10 member open play guest passes per month for $9 each, which is a steal. So, that's a big discount because they're basically, getting to get in on the member perks for a real low price to check it out. You can reserve courts up to 4 weeks in advance, participate in leagues at no additional cost, early access to all clinics. We will have clinics, tournaments, and camp registration. So we'll have things for adults and children. 20% off all tournaments and camps as well. 50% off court reservations Monday through Thursday. 20% off all Crush Yard branded items, except for our paddles. You can use our rental equipment as much as you like at no additional cost. Unlimited soft drinks at any time, and earn a $10 credit for every dollar you spend on food.
Oh, nice.
And then so there's quite a bit in there for $95 a month. So now's the time to jump on it. I mean, we already have people coming in pretty hot on that, which is great, since we're not even open yet, but, soon enough. But now's the time to get it at that price. And then our Yard membership, which is kind of more of a social thing. That's kind of how I look at it, like country clubbish. 10% off court reservations Monday through Thursday. 10% off all Crush Yard branded items except for paddles. 10% discount on all equipment rentals. You get unlimited soft drinks, so that's kind of the foodie side of it. And then earn a $10 credit as well for every $100 spent on food. So you have multiple options. If you're not into pickleball and you just want the free soft drinks and some other, branded stuff you want to buy and hang out, you can do that. And it's, there's a much different price. But if you're into pickleball and that's why you're coming, which I have a feeling a lot of people, that's going to be the reason they're coming, then the Crush membership is going to be where it's at. I mean, you get 11 perks with that. So, and the thing is too, with the people that are involved with this, I can't speak to everyone at this point, but the pro athletes, I don't know if anybody saw some of those names come out in the Charleston business section this past week, but we have the Gronk family. Mm-hmm. So they're involved, and we have some others. And then others I can't speak about yet. So.
I saw what was officially released was, Rob Gronkowski and his brothers, some other NFL players like A.J. Green, who's from Somerville, Brian Dawkins, who's a Clemson alum and spent most, if not all of his career with the Philadelphia Eagles. So those are just those names. And then you also have some like pickleball coaches and pros that are involved as well, as far as, whether it's business side or what have you.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, in our pros, great. Dan's awesome. And then we also have Matt Manasseh as a brand ambassador. And, he just did a tournament with Emma Watson. So, we have some, you'll see some cool people in and out. And especially the members, down the road, there'll be some other perks to where we'll have special events where you'll actually get to hang out with Gronk and things like that, hopefully.
Very cool.
It's going to be pretty cool, and to have them in town too. It's great just to bring more people in to see how Charleston is.
Oh yeah.
But, we've grown to the point where we can't hide her anymore.
I know.
So
You mentioned
so
the Matt Manessy playing with Emma Watson. For those who didn't know, just to show you how big pickleball is becoming, that was on a show called Pickled, which was on CBS. It was like a celebrity tournament where they raised money, and it was hosted by Charleston Stephen Colbert. So another Charleston tie-in with pickleball on that. I'm sure you can, anybody listening can probably go find that somewhere online. But so you mentioned,
they definitely can.
Okay, cool. You mentioned, people are excited and they're scooping up some of these memberships and things. I'm sure you may not have a set date in mind, but do you have a general idea of when we're hoping that this will be open?
So currently we're floating in that February to March area.
Okay.
We need to get a bunch of stuff in and set up and, continue through construction. So that's what we're shooting for. I think everybody knows with construction, sometimes unforeseen things come up, right? So definitely as soon as possible. Like, we're grinding and working hard to make sure that it happens very soon, because we want to get in there. I mean, I need to get in there. I'm going to be rusty if I don't. So I can only cook so much at home. It's not the same. So
every time someone's opening a new business in Charleston, particularly restaurants, breweries, anything with food, especially, it seems like there's always something that pops up that they, just weren't prepared for or didn't realize it would take so long to get a certain permit. So there's always a chance that there's delays, but hopefully, February, March will be when you guys open your doors, because I think a lot of people are excited about it. Is there anything we haven't talked about in relation to the business, whether it's the menu or anything else that's being offered? Is there anything we haven't touched on that you would want to let folks know about?
I would just say that, back into the food side of things, when I'm talking about things like the Self-Pour, and I know there's other businesses that have done, kind of similar models with that, but it's down to when you order your food, you'll basically be told on the app if we're slammed, you'll be told when there's a wait on food or things like that, but it doesn't stop you from being able to get a beer, get a mixed drink, get something like that, before you put your order in. But you'll have the option to either access your ordering via your account through the app. So we'll have the Crush Yard app, or you can use the kiosk system that we'll have set up as well. So I think that is, it's just different. Some people like to have traditional service. Some people, kind of want to go at their own pace. So you can go at your own pace. And the technology, I think, is going to really play into, making people happier. So that's a big one on my end.
Great. Yeah, I'm excited. I'm sure other people listening are excited, especially after hearing some more details, because I think a lot of people are like, this sounds cool, but what's it all about? And I think this will get folks even more excited. So I really appreciate you taking the time. For those listening who want more information, they can go to crushyard.com. I'm sure you all have a social media presence as well, Crush Yard on those platforms as well. I really appreciate it, Chef Buck. Thanks for taking the time to tell us about Crush Yard, and hopefully I will see you out at the club and restaurant when it opens.
Can't wait for you to come, and thank you so much, Christian.
And that'll do it. Episode 71 in the books. I hope you all enjoyed it. This was our first go-round in this new format, where we have multiple episodes a week. This was the first time where we had the kind of news crunch at the beginning, followed by an interview. But that's what we hope to do. We're hoping mostly on Fridays, but it'll vary. We can have an interview for you to end your week on. So, you get 3 episodes with the news, what's the latest happenings in town, what's coming up to look forward to. Some, reviews, some opinions from me and things like that. But you're also still getting to hear from newsmakers in town. So hopefully you've enjoyed it. Let me know if you do. If you don't, if you have suggestions, what's working, what's not working, email me, christian@holycitycenter.com. If you would like to support the podcast and are enjoying it, please rate and review, subscribe if you can do that on whatever platform you're listening. Share it with anyone you think may be interested. You can also help out by going to patreon.com/holycitycenter or going to holycitycenter.com/shop to pick up some merchandise. Thank you for listening. Thank you to Lindsay Marie Collins of LMC Sound System and FMB Radio for producing each and every episode. Thank you to Tyler Boone for providing the music in each one as well. And as I've said a bunch of times already, but I can't say it enough, thank you to you, yes, you, for listening. I really appreciate it. Until next time, good night, good luck.